Hi everyone, this is Donna from Clever Crafting. Thanks for joining me again. This is actually an old video of a card that I made just over a year ago for my daughter Samantha. I'm starting with a 5" by 7" base, and what I've just done there is on one side I have scored at 2.5, and I've folded the card inside out. These cards have got an inside white and they're coloured on the outside, and I've folded it back to front because we're going to be working with, you'll see the green side quite a bit. Right now I'm just measuring up 2.5 inches from the bottom of the card. This will be from the bottom of the card. And I'm doing this on the white side because I'm going to be cutting it. So I'm doing it basically from the back. And all I'm going to do is cut a line directly following my marks there to the crease, just to that fold line. So we need then to put it in the scoring board, and I am scoring up from the base to the cut on the side that doesn't have a fold in it. And you can see that what I'm doing, what that'll achieve is make this lovely piece at the bottom of the card that's going to stand out. So this is the fun fold of our card. All right, so now I've just got a piece of brown. Now that would obviously 2.5 inches tall, and it's long enough to go right the way across, so 5 inches and then 2.5 inches back down. And I've stuck that in place. This is another piece of card, just some craft card that I have stamped with my wood stamp on it to give it that, wood grain effect, kind of like, the old 60s or 70s look. And I've made sure that the grain lined up properly where I cut it to go on the front. And I've just lined them up and I'm poking a hole through them. Now, if you've got one of those little hole punches, it's fine. You can use that, like a crocodile or whatever. But I just used my awl, and I'm just putting some brads through those holes and backing it with double-sided foam tape. Now, these you can see match up perfectly, and I'm going to stick them on the front brown section, which will end up making it look like a cupboard. So I have cropped this video quite extensively because there's quite a few processes in it, and I really wanted you to get an overall look and view of how I put together this card. So you can see that there, look, that looks like a little, definitely looks like a 70s cupboard, 60s or 70s cupboard, and I'm going to put another little piece on the side there just to finish off my cupboard. But this piece, because it's going to be folded inside, I'm not using double-sided foam tape, I am just using double-sided tape and popping that into position. This is a die that I've got which I just love, Wine Time I think it's called, and I'm just cutting a little bit because I just wanted one bottle and one glass, not all of the glasses, the other glasses that were showing on the original one there. I've stuck that on a bit of rose gold, sort of like a matte metallic card. My daughter, who I'm making this for, was at the time drinking rosé, so it seemed quite appropriate. And I'm just going to trim the excess off it. Now I've cut it out, the die out of the rose-coloured card, and just filled in those other pieces on the cup. Now I was very happy with this. This is going to be a vase. This was actually a Christmas decoration die that I cut off the top and the bottom to give me that lovely vase shape. Now, you could probably do this with an oval, but you'd want a fairly tall, skinny oval, and I didn't have one, so that's why I used my die, my Christmas shape die. And by just by inking up the edges a little bit there, it gives it that more of a rounded look and gives it more depth. I've cut out some flowers and I'm doing some paper piecing. So I cut one out of the whole die in green, then I cut just the flower head in yellow and I've stuck that on. I've cut another piece of the flower off in green, you can see there. That's not going to stay there like that. I am just measuring it on the flower, and I'm actually going to draw the shape that I want to cut. You'll see how that turns out in a minute. So it was a fluke, this. I was actually creating this card while I was filming, so you can imagine I had like about 3 hours of film or whatever to get through to edit to see what we're seeing now. But you can, I'm just using some ink on that little piece that I cut off, and when I put it on the flower, it just looks great. I was really happy with how that turned out. And that's just a plain simple silhouette type of die, so I was happy days with this. You actually see that on there. It looks fab. Okay, so I just glued that down there. Then I grabbed some green ink and I'm just inking up the edges. This is just to give it a little bit more shading and to give it more depth. I'm actually going to be creating a scene on the card. So it's really important that all of these little bits and pieces and all these different processes are just really what add to the whole look of the card. So I'm just dabbing that on. I'm not even really being that careful or precise. You could do it with alcohol markers or anything you wanted really, but I just chose to do it with a brush and some ink. I did the same similar type of treatment to the other flower and that stalk of, I don't know what that is. You know, that stuff that they, like the feathery stuff that was always popular back then. All right, so on the back of my vase, I put some double-sided tape. You could put glue, except the paper that I used it's like a marbly, I thought, looking paper. And it was only paper. It wasn't, you know, like heavy paper or anything. So I didn't want to put wet glue on it in case it bubbled up and it would ruin the whole look. So I've just put double-sided tape to hold those in place. I'm working from the back here. And I had them laid out. I don't know if you noticed first, but I had them laid out in the, you know, I checked out the way I wanted it. And yep, that looks pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about that. You will see in a minute though that yellow flower's a little bit wide, but you know, it's okay. Can't have everything perfect. I'm just going to cover the back of that with double-sided foam tape because I do want this to also have a bit of depth, and you know, that dimension will give it a little bit of a shadow, which is also a really good look and adds to it. So that's going beside my little cupboard there, which, you know, could be a bar, but it turns out it's not a bar, but you'll see what it is in a little while. I'll leave that as a surprise. All right, that all fits. Happy days. So on the wall behind the vase, I'm going to put one of those little pictures there, which happen to be my grandchildren, so my daughter's children. And I layered up the frame that I cut with just putting 2 square nesting squares together. I put 3 layers of plain brown underneath it, and then I put a piece of that cardstock that I had stamped the wood look on it. And I've also got, that's a little record out of a record stamp and die set. And I am just, actually it might just be a die set. I think it's just, I can't remember. No, it's a stamp and die set. And I've just put Versamark over the top of those, and I'm going to layer it with some embossing powder. So this puts a really nice gloss shine on the frame, and it honestly, it brings this record to life, to absolute life. So I am just coating that with clear embossing powder. If you have diamond glaze, or I can't remember the name of the other one that's shiny, you could probably put that on there. But the reason that I chose not to do that, but to put the clear embossing powder on it, is that I could put several layers. It gave it a really good feel. It dries very, very quickly, so I could just keep working with my card, which was great. And I really love the effect that it has. And sometimes the other stuff can get bubbles in it when you're using it over larger areas. So just heating up that clear embossing powder, and you'll see it gives a nice little sheen on it on the top as soon as I get that, you know, heat gun out of the way. That's just actually, I think it's like a little cheese board thing, but it's really great for me to put stuff on when I'm heating up. I think I stole that idea from Jennifer Maguire, but you know, haven't we all stolen stuff from Jennifer Maguire? She's like the card making queen. All right, now we're going to do the record, which just looks like a bit of a blob right there. But in the actual set, it also comes with little pieces that you can put in the center, which I don't show you me making, but I do put in the center of this record. And you'll see that when it's done, it looks just superb. It's wonderful. Now, this is the first coat. I did 3 coats of embossing powder on this, but I'm not, you know, going to go through, as it is, this video is longer than what I normally do. So like double the length of what I normally do. So I didn't want to bore you with all of that, but I did do 3 coats on those. All right, so now I'm going to put together the rest of the record pieces. So in the die set, the stamp and die set, you get all the little arm and everything. And look here, you can see that I've stamped that says happy birthday around the center of that, and it's got, and I've popped that in the middle. So it really looks like a record. So this little brown piece, and I know that the record's not going in the center, but I need to make the arm go beside it so it starts to look like a record player. And you'll see that the back, I've got it sitting up, it's flapping up, but you'll see why that's the case in a little while. Now I've put double-sided foam tape under the record, but I will not be removing that tape the backing on the tape, because I don't want it to stick permanently. I've put a hole through the record and through the right place on my little brown record tabletop. And I've got the brad going through. Now I'm using my tweezers to put it right next to the cardstock. And so when I fold back the brad, it doesn't fold it flat on the cardstock, because I want a bit of room there, because I want to be able to spin the record around. So if I push the brad down flat, it wouldn't sit nice on the other side, but this way it will, and you can turn it around. Woohoo! So that just worked like a charm. I actually did fiddle with that for a while. That was a good chunk of my video that I cut out while I was working out how to make that do what I wanted. Now I'm doing a very similar thing with the arm of the record player, and I'm putting a hole in the arm, and I'm going to put some foam, but just up the top near the hole, some double-sided foam, because clearly we don't want it over the arm part, we want it to go over the record. So you can see here I've got some double-sided foam tape. I think I've already put a piece on there that you didn't see me doing, but I've covered that that end of the arm pretty well, except where the hole is. So now I'm going to position it, use my pokey tool, which is called an awl, but I go between calling it the right name and a pokey tool, and making that hole a little bit bigger there. And once again, popping a brad through and doing this trick again that I decided to leave in the video so you can see. So these are reverse tweezers. I'm just putting it at the bottom, and it's giving me a distance, like a space between the cardstock and where I fold back the brad. And so this way, the ends of the brad. So it won't fold flat on the card, which means that everything will sit flat on the other side, and we'll be able to move the arm like it was a real record player. What I really needed was one of those things, when you open up a card and it makes a tune, sings happy birthday or something. That would have been excellent on this card, but I didn't have one. So that's a missed opportunity, but I'll do that next time. All right. So now I've stuck a washer on there. I didn't show you me doing that. That's because I need a bit of weight. Now that's on the front end of the record, on the underneath. And then I get... that's just a piece of scrap that I had, and I'm just covering all of that up to keep it nice and neat and together. So I'm going to push that down firmly. I just slapped a bit of the Smart Art glue on that and pushing that around. Now I've got double-sided glue on that, double-sided tape, I beg your pardon, on that backing piece there, and I've put some glue on there. Now the glue is to give me wriggle room, because I need to position this so when the card opens, it makes our record top, the top of that little cupboard. See how that works there? Woo-hoo. It's coming together. I was so excited about this card. Honestly, seeing it again is really exciting. The only thing is that I didn't take any still photos, but you can see at the end of the video how that you can see it pretty well. I'm just burnishing that down with my bone folder to make sure it's really well stuck. Now I'm sticking my frame onto this delightful photo of my grandbabies, and that's going to go on the back wall. So clearly I'm making a little lounge room scene with the wine and the music and the flowers and the photo on the wall. So we're just going to stick that on there. Beautiful. I die cut this happy birthday 3 times and stuck them all together to give it a bit of depth. And I am just going to pop that on the front of the card. It covers up the, this little trick, which is good. I can't remember who I saw this from, but if you've got too much glue, if you just dab it off on some on some scrap paper first, and then when you put it on, you won't get the splotches coming out. Mind you, the Smart Art glue is matte, so you don't really see it anyway, but still, why have excess there when you don't need it? So pop that on the front and put our photo into place. And we're all done. This was such a fun card to make. And I do know that my daughter really enjoyed it when she got it. So you can see how it works, that when you open it up, the record player falls down. That's why we needed to have that washer on the front. Those flowers have really got a lovely bit of dimension too, and it's a nice little scene. So I'd really like to thank you for spending this time with me today. I know it's a little bit longer than normal, but I really hope you learned something and that you really give this technique a try. If you do give it a try, I'd love to see your creations. So I'll put a link below to our Facebook group and you can, show us your creations on that page. As always, I really appreciate you liking this video and would love you to become a subscriber. So till next time, stay safe and happy crafting.